Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Unplugged Woodworkings podcast. So what have I been up to? I have just finished up on one of the tables I was making. It seems to have taken forever to do it. Whatever's been the reason, probably me being a little bit lazy. The weather hasn't been too great, so it has been a bit hitty missy, so that's kind of stopped us a little bit. I was actually planning on shooting a video today, but it's actually started to rain. It kept off all day. I had to have a little mess around with the car, so I didn't kind of get the chance to shoot the video. But the video should hopefully get shot tomorrow, and that's going to be basically on how to make some pegs and how to make wedges. For the Roman workbench. I've had a few people request it. I think it was more of the wooden holdfast, basically when you combine the pegs and the wedge together. I had a bit of a curiosity around that the last couple of times I've shown it, so I'm going to record how I do that and just give some narration to it. So what impressed me this week? It kind of didn't impress us, but it was more, I just thought it would be good for everybody to know about it. And this is from Would You Read? This was on Instagram. I'll put a link in the description so you can check the post out. This is, I'm not too sure, I think it may be either Korean or Chinese. I'm going to go Korean. I'm not too sure of the writing, but I think the description's kind of been lost in translation, so I couldn't really make head nor tails of the translation. But basically, is what it was. It looked like some sort of like pegs with basically a clamp on top of it. So I can't actually remember the name of these clamps. I've been a little bit lazy and I haven't bothered myself to give it a Google and see what they are. But basically, these are wooden clamps. Where I've seen them a lot is with guitar makers. So basically, these are pretty simple to make. And they've got like a little oval triangle piece at the top. And that's basically how you tighten the clamp up. Basically, you get it into position, and you would push that clamp up like towards 90 degrees, and obviously the pressure, and with the pivot point being off center, or the piece being a little bit oval, whichever way you want to put it, it just tightens a piece up. So I don't think I would pursue it myself or replicate it, but I think there's a lot of people out there that actually might benefit from this. It's quite a good idea, especially if you're using like viceless work holding techniques and whatnot. It could be a nice little build for some people. Someone might find it very useful. I see I won't pursue it, but it kind of just depends in the future. Like I say, it was a good idea, good concept. So I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out. So I just thought I'd mention this for everyone that's kind of took the mick out of us for being in the garden wearing no shoes, no sandals, anything like that. Well, the other day when it was sunny, I was out and I was quite engrossed in me woodworking, which is not uncommon for me, and I got stung by a bee. I got stung by the bee in the second big toe. It hurt a lot, like a really lot. So I think I've just come a bit too close to the little guy and I've maybe stood on him a little bit. I was able to get it out of my toe. The stinger was still intact, so the bee was okay, and the bee flew off, and my second big toe was throbbing for about 2 to 3 hours afterwards. So I just thought I'd mention that, for all the people that thought or think I'm a little bit crazy. So that's probably a reason for you to put some trainers or sandals on or something. Will it stop us? No, it won't. So today I thought I would talk about the Shavehorse extension, what I built for the room and workbench. And for anyone that doesn't know, I'm probably sure most of you do know, there is the free ebook, and the ebook has the plans to the bench and to the Shavehorse extension, amongst other things. So if you want to go and check those plans out, go to the Linktree link and it'll be there to download for you. No sign up, nothing like that, no email, just click on it and read it or download it, whichever you want to do. So the construction of this is like pretty simple. It's probably one of the simplest constructions of a Shavehorse I've seen. When I first built the Shavehorse, I did actually have a couple of people comment on how simple it was. In a positive way. They weren't obviously putting the Shavehorse down. You know, there was a couple of people, you know, say, "Wow, I've built one. Did I kind of build it too complicated?" The intention for the Shavehorse was just for it to be quick and basically usable. So it basically just consists of the two arms, and you have the clamping rail, and you have the foot rail, which obviously has the I'm not too sure the correct terminology for it. The pedals, if you like, I'm going to call them. I think everyone could relate to that. This thing just slots together. I did have a few little pegs in them. One of them snapped off. I could probably get it back out. You know, I could drill it back out. I don't think I'm going to bother. But if I ever need to replace one of the components, I could do that. Yeah, so like I say, it kind of just slots together. In the clamping rail, I did cut a little V into it, and that's just kind of to help things from swiveling. You know, when you're putting things on the corner, if you've got some square stock and you're kind of putting it on the corner, it will want to swivel because there's not a lot of like contact between the bed and the piece of wood itself. So that's kind of it. It's a nice little feature. Obviously, this isn't my idea. This is from wherever, probably Instagram. So what I like about the setup, if you like, it's like super fast to set up. I have demonstrated this. Obviously, I've wrote about it in the book. It literally takes you about 30 seconds to set the thing up, if that. It's very, very cool. And obviously, the good thing about having the attachment rather than having a separate Shavehorse is that, you know, you can take it apart in 30 seconds, a minute, whatever, and you've got a fully functioning room and workbench, which anybody that follows will know that you can make some pretty decent furniture on a room and workbench. So you put it in, for anyone that doesn't know, you kind of position the Shavehorse attachment on. You put two pegs in either side, and you position the bed section on, two pegs in that, and then you put your little chock underneath, or your little height block, you know, just to give you some support underneath the clamping position. So why did I add it to the bench? Well, why not? There's the first one, but that actually isn't why. So I started doing what's the word? Conical tenons, you know, things like that, or the need to you know, take corners off stuff, you know, when I'm making dowels, because I do tend to do that. If I'm making dowels now, I'll try to split the wood if I can. If I've got, like, you know, roughly straight grained timber, I'll try and split the oak or whatever wood I'm using, and I'll take the corners off really quickly with a drawer knife. And obviously the Shavehorse attachment, because it's so quick to set up, it's like, it's a no-brainer. So I don't actually know why it took us so long, because I did actually, I did think it was a good idea for like a long time. And like I say, I just don't know why I didn't do it sooner. But as well, I was starting to do a lot of conical tenons, round tenons. It's good when you're making legs as well. Just really good to get, to get the leg into it, get it clamped up, and obviously, you can move it around really quickly. And with a draw knife, you can really hog a lot of material off pretty quick. So one of the issues I've had with it, or rather other people, kind of everyone kind of wants to know, like, the kind of the correct heights or whatever, the spacings and whatever else, and it's kind of, it falls into the same realms of like the height of a Roman workbench, and I've talked about this in the past. I mean, like, I'm 5'5", so my workbench necessarily isn't as good for a guy who's 6'5". His knees are going to be like, in line with his chest when he's sitting down, and it's kind of the same it's not a problem, it's more of a consideration. But the issue that I've had like people like kind of wanting like exact sizes, and I can't really do that. And one of the issues is, obviously, I always recommend to put extra holes in when people do actually messages about this. I just, I say follow the plans and just add extra length, and obviously add extra holes. So that's kind of one of the issues with it. When I first started using it after I'd built it, one of the issues for me was the material moving around. I'd already cut the V into it, which did help, but I found that the material would slip. I think it was more of an issue for me because I tend to use kiln dried or air dried oak. I don't really get my hands on a lot of like green oak or green wood at all, to be honest. So as I said, there was a lot of movement. How I got around this was I put some Crowbar on the bed, and obviously some Crowbar on the clamping rail as well. For anyone that doesn't know, Crowbar's kind of like a bit of a mixture between rubber and cork. It does hold pretty well, although when it gets like full of fine sawdust, it can get a bit slippy. So I find, just give it a brush down and just give it a wipe over with a sponge, and that kind of does help a lot. Also, something that was pointed out to myself, this was maybe a couple of weeks ago, Lowly Mountain Banjos actually posted kind of a little gizmo. It was something similar to what I had done with like the two tapering sticks, is what I called them. And basically, these are like two short sticks, if you like, with a groove in the two of them. And basically, he'd housed these into his the bed of his Shavehorse. So these are removable as well, but I actually thought that was quite a good idea. I haven't tried it yet, but it might be of benefit for those that have built the bench or the extension or whatever. It might be, something worth trying out. Obviously, I haven't done it myself, but, obviously, the Lowly Mountain Banjo, he actually tagged us in the video, and it looked like it was working really well. So it might be worth you going and having a look if you haven't already looked, or you don't already follow him. If I remember, I will tag him. I will leave a link to the description. I will leave a link in the description with a link to the video so you can check out what I'm talking about. So I'm not a green woodworker by any means. As I said, I normally use kiln dried, which isn't the best, or air dried again isn't the best. I think air dried is probably the closest I get to green, but as I said, I'm not a green woodworker, but I am going to go over like a few things what I've picked up, just by using the extension. So take it with a pinch of salt. Obviously, as I said, not a green woodworker. When I'm using it, I primarily use two tools. One being the draw knife, the other one being the spoke shave. So the draw knife, I do keep that nice and sharp. I did actually do a video on how I sharpen a draw knife, and basically I just use an axe hook, if I said that right. Puck, sorry. Hock, where did I get that from? So I just use an axe. I kind of think of what it's called now. I've just said it. That thing I've just said anyway. Yeah, I use one of them. A puck, an axe puck. Yeah, so I use one of them. So I done a video on this, and it does a really good job. I do actually finish up with my last strop with some buffing compound on it, and it does get it razor sharp. I can get it sharp enough to take the hairs off my arm, so it is pretty sharp. So one of the issues with using the kiln dried, you're not always guaranteed to get straight grain. Even if you do manage to split it, and it splits quite well, in my experience anyway. So sometimes, when you're using a draw knife, you have got to be, especially when you're using kiln dried, you have got to be careful, because although you've split the wood and it looks pretty straight, sometimes when you're using a draw knife, the grain will actually pull the draw knife into the material. So you've got to be wary of that, because obviously if it pulls in too much, it might be something you don't want to do. Whereas if you do take your time, or you're vigilant with this, it can save you having to split another piece, so on and so forth. So when you're using a spoke shave, there's quite a lot of people that don't know this, but there is numerous types of spoke shave. And I have actually seen people when they're using, just quite recently actually on Instagram, I'm not going to name anybody, but I did see someone using the spoke shave like kind of upside down, where there's actually spoke shaves, not spoke shaves, sorry, a draw knife. There's draw knives designed to be used with the bevel down, and there's draw knives to be used, designed to be used with the bevel pointing up. Obviously you can tell, sometimes you can tell with the way the angle, the way the handles are angled, that's a bit of a giveaway. Personally, I only own one draw knife, and that's to be used with the bevel down, making contact with the workpiece. I kind of find this better. Obviously I can't really comment because I haven't used the other type of draw knife, but from what I've seen, and obviously I have used the draw knife with the bevel pointing up. Obviously you can use it like that, but obviously the way the handles are angled, it's not optimal, but you can use it like that. And from what I've kind of messed around with like that, I personally feel it's better for myself to use it with the bevel down. So that's one thing to take into consideration. Also, when you're using dried wood, kiln dried wood, is what you'll find is sometimes when you're using it, you'll actually get you'll actually, what's the word I'm looking for here? It'll actually get stuck in the wood when you're pulling the draw knife towards you. This sometimes necessarily isn't because of the grain, or or rather the grain like pulling you in. Sometimes it might be a little bit of a knot, or it just might be a tough material basically. So one thing you can do with this is when you're actually pulling it towards you, and if you're finding you're struggling, actually start using a slicing motion. So as you're pulling it towards yourself, actually move it I'm right-handed, so I would actually pull it to my right, so a slicing motion to the right side of my body, and that works really well to get you past that awkward grain, whatever it may be, and whether it be a knot or just, the grain might just be really dried out and close together, whatever it is. So the spoke shave, when I use a spoke shave, the spoke shave is kind of it's a no-brainer. The spoke shave, there's not really a lot I have to say on the spoke shave. Although I will say what I do like about the Shavehorse is that you can use the spoke shave like either way. Obviously it's really good for shaping. The kind of finer details. That's what I do tend to do. I'll remove the bulk of my material with a drawer knife. If it's going to be round, then I will follow up with a spoke shave. But one thing I like about the spoke shave, you can actually push it and you can pull it, whereas you'll find with a drawer knife it kind of doesn't work as well. I don't tend to push it, and I really haven't seen a lot of people pushing it. It does actually tend to be more a pulling motion, but obviously, as I said, with a spoke shave, you can actually push it or pull it, which is pretty cool. So injuries, I've kind of only got 2 complaints, like injury wise, with using the Shavehorse Attachment. So the first one being the drawer knife. So when you first get a drawer knife, the 2 edges of the blade will be like sharp, and then if you sharpen them, obviously when you sharpen it, they're going to be like sharper again. So that's kind of one of my only complaints, like on that side of it, with the drawer knife. So as what you would do here, you would basically, whatever you can get in, and whether it be a file or if you've got a grinder, and basically just round the 2 of them off. When you're using it, you'll find you're never ever going to use the edges, so it's not a big deal to to round them over. You will catch yourself if you haven't done this already. You probably will catch yourself and you will cut yourself. So that's kind of one of the injuries or complaints I will say about that for anybody that doesn't know. The second injury, which is I cannot say it's common, but I cannot say it's not common for myself. I'm sure there's other woodworkers that use a Shavehorse can relate to this, but kind of when you're pulling, if you've got awkward grain and you're pulling with the drawer knife, it might be catching on something. There might be a knot there, whatever. Having said that, there shouldn't really be any major knots here, because obviously it's going to be a weakness in the material you're doing. Whether that be a dowel, whether that be a leg or a conical tenon, you shouldn't the knot you should be able to cut out, or it should be like very, very minimal. That's something you might want to look out for when you actually are selecting timber for whatever you may be doing. On a Shavehorse, it is always better to try and get straight grain material, as few knots as you can. So yeah, when you are pulling, so for whatever reason, sometimes, and I have done it quite a few times, is when you're actually pulling and you're trying a slicing motion. Sometimes a slicing motion, that's even struggling. So sometimes you can actually pull it so much, or at least I can, and I have done, and I do literally pull the piece like kind of into me solar plexus. It kind of hurts. If you can imagine kind of somebody with a kung fu staff or some sort of staff, and basically like basically jabbing you in the solar plexus. It's kind of what it's like, and it does actually hurt. So it's not overly too bad when you've kind of, if you've got a bit of a thick coat on. If I'm wearing that blue fleece that I wear, that's kind of my woodworking coat now. If it's a bit cold, but if you've only got a t-shirt or a vest on, which a lot of the time I have, especially when it's sunny, it can hurt. So I think that's kind of it today. I felt I've really covered my basic knowledge of the Shavehorse, or rather the Shavehorse attachment for the Roman workbench. So I'll mention this again. It is free, the ebook that does contain the plans, so go and download it if you're curious, if you want to build it. You may be a first time listener. What I will say again is a big thank you to all the people that have just started following me on my social media, and for everybody that's been following me and liking me posts and whatnot. It's very much appreciated to everyone. So with that, I'm going to say I'll speak to you guys later.